It's time for Wrestling for the Culture, where we take a look to see what wrestlers of colors have been doing this week. But before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the Wrestling Wrealm, where you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, anywhere you get your major platforms, and of course right here on YouTube and Facebook. And also make sure you follow us at Twitter and Instagram. Now, let's get into the culture. We're going to start with Sasha Banks. She's finally got back to her winning ways, earning a victory over Dana Brooke this week. Dana Brooke, who you know is with Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews. Unfortunately, they put her in the match, and Apollo was not happy with it. Said, why of all people you gonna put in a match with Sasha Banks? But we know Sasha's been losing matches to the members of the Riot Squad, so for her this was good. Not so good for Dana, or of course the other members of the culture, that being the Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews. Now, on SmackDown, things haven't been going so well for Naomi, as she lost not once but twice, back-to-back weeks, losing to both members of the Iconics. And she was even seeing, as you can see right there on the screen, what I said on last week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Maybe it's time that Naomi gets some help. You know, even she tweeted, or put that on Instagram. Maybe it's that time. I mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. We know her and Lana aren't really, haven't been seeing eye to eye, but then it looked like maybe there's some respect there. Maybe once Lana's finished with Zelina Vega, who knows? Maybe Tamina comes back and helps her. After all, they are family, so only time will tell. Back on the Raw, we'll get back to the men. Bobby Lashley was very successful this past week as he defeated both members of the Ascension. But let's move on to NXT, because the EST of NXT, she wants a title shot. She wants Kairi Sane. She just got back and she had a victory last week. However, Nikki Cross has been, Nikki Cross. I don't want to say the crazy word, but I guess I'll say crazy. And Bianca Belair, she's like, look, who cares? She may know something. She need to go ahead and spill the beans. They're trying to figure out what happened to former NXT champion Aleister Black. As you know, he was injured and could not participate in the match at TakeOver Brooklyn, so therefore he was eliminated from that match. But nonetheless, Bianca Belair is like, look, you need to go ahead and spill the beans, tell William Regal what he needs to know, and meanwhile I need to get my title shot because I'm going to be the next NXT Women's Champion. I've said this before, she's my pick. I'm waiting to see when it happens. Now, let's move on to this past weekend was All In. And you may say, what does Brandi Rhodes have to do with it? Well, guess what? There's a saying in the world, and that is, behind every great man, there's an even better woman. And that does not change when it comes to the lovely Miss Brandi Rhodes, as her husband, Cody, went on to win the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Cody becoming the first man to win the title whose father had won it previously, making Cody and Dusty Rhodes the first father-son NWA World Champion. But it was Brandi who was right there, and if you didn't see the match, you missed out on something. And I tell you this, she even got in the ring to say, you know what, I'm going to do this for my man because right now he needs me. So she jumped on top of him and she took the elbow drop from the former champion Nick Aldis. So shout out to her. And unfortunately, she wasn't able to help her best friend Flip Gordon capture the Ring of Honor World Champion, as he was defeated by Jay Lethal. And you might say, what does Jay Lethal have on? Jay Lethal, as you know, he was one time the Machismo. He decided to pay tribute to the late great Macho Man Randy Savage. As you know, if you remember, when he was in Impact Wrestling, now formerly known as TNA, he was, used to ooze and machismo a lot, and he was a guy who really dressed up like Macho Man a lot of times. And the dream match was always Jay Lethal versus Macho Man. Unfortunately, we never got it, but we had Lethal come out there with Macho Man's brother, the great Lonnie Poffo, and Poffo They had a shirt that said brother from another mother, so I thought that was really cool. Great way for him to pay homage. Like I said, unfortunately, Brandi Rhodes' bestie, Flip Gordon, couldn't get the job done after it took him so long to become All In. Moving on to Impact Wrestling. Why, Moose, why? He betrayed Eddie Edwards, who was already getting beat up by Killer Cross and the champion Austin Aries. It was during a tag team match. Moose decided, instead of then, when he got in the ring, instead of then taking out the opposition, he speared Eddie Edwards and joined up with them. So a lot of people are not pleased with him. Moving on, let's move on to Capital Wrestling as Ariela Nyx retains her women's championship as she defeated Ronnie Nicole. As you can see right there, she had a lot of help from authorities, but as she tweeted to the Wrestling Realm, she's just that damn good. And last but certainly not least, congratulations to Chris Bay. Last week, in which we just missed the cutoff, Dash and Chris Bay became the new Best of the West champion. And then this week, as of 9/2/18, that's September 2nd, 2018, he is the now longest reigning Maverick Pro champion. So shout out to Chris Bay with becoming the longest reigning champion. That is 141 days, folks. So he is definitely putting on for the culture. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this edition of Wrestling for the Culture. Make sure you are subscribed to the Wrestling Realm, as I mentioned earlier, and I promise you, you will not want to miss out on the content that is coming up. Till the next time, folks, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.